Don't miss Minky Monday on the Zone. Tune in all day next Monday, May 5th, to win Minky Couture blankets, the original classy blanket. Minky Couture makes the perfect Mother's Day gift, and Zone listeners get 50% off with code ZONE50. Don't miss Minky Monday on 97.5 The Zone. Well, Texas has made some college football news, PK. There's all this outrage and yelling and pulling of hair and screaming when we heard that Ohio State was spending $13 million on a team. And now Texas is spending between $35 and $40 million on a team. Where's this NIL going? Are there people who want to write these checks every year?
What sport are you talking about?
College football. Yeah. Texas is going to spend $35 to $40 million. College basketball, the biggest number I've heard is Kentucky spending $20 million. Now, who knows if everybody's come clean with all their numbers and what's really out there. And there certainly can be some posing. And it's really hard to audit this stuff. But Texas, $35 to $40 million on a roster. And there's not a lot of denials coming out of the Longhorns camp.
Why would they?
Because I think it's true, right? Again, can't prove it. You can't audit it, but...
No, that's what I find sort of fascinating with BYU is there's some folks who try to downplay it.
Right.
Why?
I don't know. Image, well, we do know image, like you say. They don't want to, in the minds of some people, they don't want to be seen that way. Other people are like, fine, see it that way. Let's go.
Well, win. I want you to win. Your winning makes me happier. That's the typical mindset of the sports fan, whatever that sport is, whether that fan is interested. So that seems like, I mean, to me, for basketball, for BYU, that's why they're drawing the attention of virtually every recruit out there, is because they know, and it's not exclusively money, because then the BYU people, the church education dude, well, yeah, but okay, yeah, it is. They're not coming exclusively for money. Now, Ryan Day came out, of all places, I saw this yesterday, if your number one concern is money, this isn't the place for you.
Oh, that sounds like straight out of Kalani Sitake's mouth right there.
But I wonder, is that something that you have to say?
Well, yes, it probably is.
So we don't make it total money.
But realistically, once you get there and you've cut the check, it's time for football. You need to be all in. You can't be cruising, and that's going to drive every coach nuts.
But I think it's a given that if you're exclusively for the money, it's not going to work.
Right.
But I think every kid is not, there's very few kids out there who are going to be exclusively about the money. So it's not really an issue. They want to go where they can win. They want to go where they can get coached. They want to go where they can audition for the NFL. Those are all things. To me, it doesn't need to be said. It's understood. If I'm a receiver, I want to go where they throw the ball. If I'm a running back, I want to go
where they run the ball.
And if I'm a lineman, I want to go where they put guys in the NFL. So it's already understood. So I don't need the church guy telling me, oh, wow, we're not going to outbid. We're not going to be the highest bidder because there's other things. And Kevin Young, this NBA setup and blah, 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 and the conference. But I get that. And it's, why do we decide if we put money up there with those other things, somehow that's bad? Why?
Because it's money. Money's dirty.
We're not being realistic here. We're trying to still be caught up in Pollyannish fantasy. I want to go where they can best put me in the position to make money after I'm done playing, after my education is over. That's fine. I'm going to go to the engineering school because ASU's now built up, put the jokes aside, they've built up a broadcasting school. Mm-hmm. They've got a campus, a satellite over in Santa Monica, and they've got the thing downtown where the TV stations are. So they've gained some publicity through that. So I want to go there, and Syracuse does it. Columbia School of Journalism for
Northwestern
print.
Missouri.
So there's
there's a handful of these schools. Right.
So what's wrong about going there to be able to set myself up? So they're doing the same thing. But somehow, if an athlete wants to do it, it's tawdry. Can't have that. That's BS.
Yes. I didn't come here to play school, right?
And I'm fine with that.
Because that's the path in that field.
And Cardale Jones played a little bit in the NFL. Now he's doing broadcasting, I think, for Fox. Mm-hmm. Okay, he set himself up.
He did.
He played by the rules, and now Yak and I were listening to him the other day. He's very good. Was it you?
Yeah, we were out there with Yak, and we were talking about the show and booking guests, and he was on, and we're like, was that Cardale? And then he came back on, like, yeah, that's him. Yeah.
And he sounded great.
I know.
So he used the system to set himself up.
And let's be honest, if he went to San Diego State, he wouldn't have that opportunity. But he went to Ohio State, so he has that opportunity.
Maybe so.
You need that platform. He went to the right school. And then on top of it, he had to be good because he's been doing it long enough now. If he didn't have a knack for it,
you got to be good.
He'd be out, and they'd be on to the next whoever who, played well for a big school.
Yes, exactly. I just don't see. I get it. Don't go exclusively 1,000% for the cash. That's not really good. And for you, I would say, wait a second, dog. Don't you be putting down San Diego State. You're forgetting Jeannie Zelasco.
I'm not forgetting Jeannie Zelasco. I watched Jeannie Zelasco.
I bet you did. That sound creepy, by the way. I'm just saying. That sound creepy.
Save that for Paulazon.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I don't need 13-year-old DJ reliving memories here.
I was 15.
Step away.
I was 15, but
yeah,
whatever.
That's even worse.
Sorry. You said you can handle truth, and then I give you truth.
And I gave you truth right back.
Fine.
That's disgusting.
How about this quote out of the Houston Chronicle? A source. It's just unsustainable. The next season after this year, the whole world will be back to reality. I don't believe that.
Well, but what's reality? Will it be everything will be universally reality? No. Will it be potentially better and more normal than it is right now? I think so.
Well, Texas?
I think to the point that person's making is that they're sending $40 million this year. It's going to be cut to that $20 million revenue figure.
I don't believe that either.
And
I don't believe that. I know what you're talking about, Yak, and you're right. I know what you're saying because that is what they're saying. But I don't believe it.
But that's the way it's always been.
Agreed.
Okay, but you were fine the way it was always. You went you sat on your father's lap at San Diego State and watched Brian Sipe or whoever the quarterback was. I think
a little before my time, but yeah, he was there.
Dan Fouts with the Chargers?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I was there for his head.
Okay, well, they were all getting paid, and you were way into it. And whoever was the quarterback and run Marshall Faulk or whomever, they've had a number of great players over the years, receivers, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's not a total dog school by any stretch.
Nope.
And those kids, Isaac Curtis.
Isaac Curtis played.
They were probably getting cash.
Played for a long time.
Somebody was. Getting benefits that were quote-unquote illegal.
There were no $100 handshakes in San Diego, PK.
I mean, so it was up the street, wherever.
Maybe $50 handshakes.
But the world got along just fine.
It did.
So we'll get along just fine here.
Agreed.
And it will go back to more normalcy, which involves cheating. Cheating is normal.
I don't even.
So-called cheating.
That so-called cheating, maybe for a year or two, there'll be a lawsuit and then it'll be done. I just don't think we're going away from NIL. The Texas boosters who've coughed up 35 to 40 million, 35 to 40 million, and the Ohio State boosters who gave 13 million 3 years ago when that was quote unquote outrageous, they're not going away. They're not going to accept losing. And don't they play each other in the season opener this year? I think they play the first weekend. Somebody's going to lose, and somebody's going to be outraged, and somebody's going to want to write a bigger
actually,
check.
It doesn't even matter anymore.
But they can certainly overcome it. As we saw Ohio State lose to Oregon early in the year, overcome it, and actually lose a second time to Michigan.
Last game of the season.
They get in the playoff anyway, and then they roll through it.
That game is just basically exhibition now.
It's playing for seeding.
It's fun.
Maybe. It is fun.
But it doesn't have any long-lasting ramifications by any stretch. Utah lost its first game against the SC and then won the rest of them, went to the Rose Bowl. So, I'm glad they're playing. It'll be fun. I'll check it out for sure. But I don't think that this stuff. Okay, this is what we wanted. We wanted them to get paid, but now some people want them. Well, maybe they couldn't take their girlfriend out to a movie and a pizza. The dramatic. It's always the dramatic. As every player on the West Coast, every trip is going to be to Piscataway. Everything is the most outrageous. Majerus, I just wanted to buy a hamburger. Bull, you know what? There was way more. Coaches told me there was way more.
Oh, he said it too. He just didn't say it later to the national media.
Right.
But he knew he'd been in the gym watching players when he wasn't supposed to and working them out when he wasn't supposed to.
And who cares? But it's always the extreme. And now we wanted the kids to get paid.
And now they're getting paid.
Well, wait a second
and
here. I was just talking about maybe $20,000.
Yeah, well, this is what the market will bear. This is what people in Texas are willing to write checks for, and people in Ohio are willing to
drives up in a Lamborghini.
Yeah. Well.
What? I never signed on for. Did you vote for that? Is that what you voted for?
Well, it turns out we didn't have a vote in this.
Well, but it was public sentiment. So, yes, we did. And we do have a vote. We could turn it off.
Oh, we're not turning it off.
But that's a vote.
We're not turning it off.
We do have a vote. There's no question we have a vote.
Not only are we not turning it off, more of us are turning to the games.
I understand that.
Or the same number of people are consuming more games. Maybe you're watching 3 games instead of 2.
That's why, yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Everything else is nichified.
College football is as big as ever.
And it's across all of sports. We're seeing it for all the talk about the NBA. Now the NBA playoff ratings are off the charts. The PGA Tour.
Didn't pay attention to them when they were down.
The PGA
I watched
Tour.
it either way.
The PGA Tour numbers are through the roof on multiple networks. They're accelerating.
And that's why in these last final 6 months of your radio career, you're going to go out with a blaze.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And hopefully Tim will speak well of me at my funeral.
No, he didn't have you dying. He just had you retiring, being phased out.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, you know what he meant. And then with no purpose, I will immediately begin to decay.
You'll have a purpose. As long as there's an internet, you'll have a purpose.
Ta-da!
Looking up nonsense, you'll have a purpose.
Valuable information.
Yeah, when Wyoming dropped baseball.
1996.
We needed to know that one.
I did need
desperately. So I'm fed up with the outrage on all this stuff.
Right, and I'm also fed up with the nonsense predictions about it's going to go away or decelerate. No, I don't believe that. I'm with you. If they make it illegal, then the money will continue to flow. Barely out of eyesight. Out of eyesight, but just barely. And there will be people looking for it and digging for it and reporting on it. There will be people who sue to say, hey, you can't stop this person from paying me, and then the rules will go away. And I don't think that will take very long. I mean, I'm serious. I'm thinking like a year or two, and it depends on how fast courts move and all that. But, I mean, really, I think the pressure for boosters to be able to keep paying them so their school can win, that Alabama thinks they should win, Auburn thinks they should win, Georgia, Florida, LSU. Those 5 schools in the SEC. And now throw in Oklahoma, Texas.
You fans think they should win Big 12.
So there's 7 schools. Somebody in the SEC is going to be suing in a heartbeat because they got the 7th best team. It's not going to take long at all.
We had a draft expert earlier in the week said, I think this is killing parity. When was there parity? When? How can you kill something that isn't alive? I don't understand it.
Can't kill something that's already dead.
Actually, it's the flow of money that's brought people like Indiana, who hasn't been a player forever, and made them a player this year. They were 11-1.
Okay, good for them. One season, and look who they did. And the Big Ten sucks.
It does.
All they did was beat a bunch of crappy teams.
And that hasn't changed. I don't think the 4th place Big Ten team. There have been San Diego State teams that were 5-win teams that went back to Ohio State and Michigan and played 2- and 3-point games. Because those teams weren't on top of the world at that point. Hey, Utah's beaten Michigan 3 out of 4.
Yeah, some of that ebb and flows. Right. I mean, Utah beat Alabama in Saban's first year. They beat USC in Pete Carroll's first year.
But when they really
and both those teams became juggernauts.
Right. Even the juggernauts
became juggernauts again.
Right. They aren't unbeaten all the time.
Right.
They do get beaten.
And you have to slide in there.
That level of parity has always existed. Where a school
there's
can
a little bit of up
play
and down.
A close game. There is up and down. and players get hurt late in the season. Somebody isn't good.
There's up and down, but then the other big dog takes its place.
In a pool of 10 or 20 big dogs, somebody always has it going and is undefeated.
Yeah.
And you don't get to permanently live in that world.
No.
You get to visit. You don't get to buy
Boise
the waterfront.
State beat Oklahoma in one of the most memorable games,
and it was
with all
awesome.
the trick plays at the end.
Right.
Absolutely.
And Boise State doesn't get to go to the SEC, and Oklahoma does.
Right.
And Boise State doesn't get paid $80 million a year for TV money, and Oklahoma does.
So I don't see where any of that's changing. You got to enjoy the moments, the fun moments when they happen, and just go up and down with it and just celebrate, dance up, jump up and down, because I don't think any of our schools here are going to consistently be a big dog year after year after year. But they can be. Maybe BYU basketball, and maybe BYU there's apparently within a literal stone's throw, there's 82 billionaires is what I'm being told. And every last one of them
Are you exaggerating here, or did someone tell you that?
No, they talk about it all day.
Well, you said 82. I didn't know, okay.
10, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
Back in Jersey, in Newark, what's his face? Kevin Young was talking about it. You drive up and down I-15 in Utah County, and you have all these tech billionaires. He literally said that. And we know the ESPN story, which we're going to keep going back to. They were touting their chests on that, and BYU leadership got a little queasy about it. Okay, they got a little queasy about it, but freaking DeMonza ain't going anyplace else, and these other kids that they're getting, they're still coming. They got queasy about it, but yet they're still having the kids go there.
13 million to 20 million to 35 or 40 million. Where does this accelerate? In the day a booster says that, I don't doubt he meant it. But is this going to accelerate to the point where at some school, whether it's BYU or somewhere, people are going to say, okay, that's enough. I've written you enough checks.
Well, they did. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right.
But then there'll be
a
new tech guy come along.
There is that. The next Mark Cuban, right?
Yeah.
The other Mark Cuban's over it, but the next Mark Cuban, it's brand new
And
to him.
BYU said enough was enough to Marion. Stop asking for money. They drew the line.
And now he's going to play football at the University of Miami.
And good for him. And Carson Beck, what did he get? He got millions to go there. What was the figure? I can't remember it now. Right?
I don't know.
But you can go look it up because he's going over. Isn't that where he's going?
He is. Yeah. He's in Miami right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And the girlfriend played basketball there.
Cavender, yeah.
Come on.
Haley Cavender.
Reports suggest Carson Beck's between 3 and 4 million.
Yeah. Yeah. And the world's going to go on. Miami's going to play, and they're going to pay Marion what he was looking for. Okay, that's the business world. These kids are now businessmen and women.
Yep. Which has been happening in other sports for a long time.
Oh, for sure.
We have Pablo on every week and ask him about it. They started an 18-year-old in San Diego last week. He's a professional, and he gets paid. And he's from Yak was over there. Were you guys comparing lunch spots? Because he lives 5 or 10 miles from you, Xavier Gozo?
Yeah, well, so he's not even 5 miles from me.
Okay.
He's really close.
Yeah, he's 18, so how come this 18-year-old can't in football? Yeah, over here an 18-year-old
My
in soccer
mentor
can.
actually coached Freddie Adu.
There you go. There's a guy who was a pro at 14, I think, or 15.
Right, because he was involved in some competitions. So, yeah. And so over here.
They're pros now.
And it's just going to keep growing. It's going to.
I wouldn't be heartbroken if they started doing 2-year contracts. I could slow the carousel down
that's
and
fine.
be interested. But that to me is more. That bugs me way more than the money. The money is just the money, and that's what they get. That's what the market is.
They got
get
caught unprepared. They being the college athletic world, it got caught unprepared because it was we do this for decades. And then boom, now we're doing this. And it was like overnight. What are we going to do? And now
nobody's in charge.
There was no guardrails to set it up. There was no easing into it. It was nothing legally, and now everything.
There's no one in charge to build the guardrails. If something happens,
I think conference commissioners can do it. I mean, they're talking about if you wait after spring ball in the SEC, you're not going to be eligible. So go ahead, follow it through. Other conferences can do it if they want to.
Okay, but no conference commissioner is motivated to limit the money or to make them sign multi-year contracts. At least not yet.
Well,
maybe they will be. You're
yeah,
right.
I
There
think
are
they will
other
be.
rules. There are other things. And it's just people ad hoc doing things like, yeah, we're not televising spring football. Heck, we're not even playing it.
Yeah, that's going
Or-
to be a dinosaur.
Yeah. Or different. Oh, yeah.
That's going to be like the third place game in the NCAA Final Four.
Just something you looked up in the history books.
Yeah.
Back in the day, the college football All-Stars versus the NFL champion.
Yeah,
That used to be a preseason game. Yeah, they don't mess around with that anymore.
right. Yeah. Right. So that'll
and
go
if they
away.
have spring games, then Nebraska was on the front end of reinventing them. For all the people who aren't going to be here and need tape, we'll play a game. We'll set you up. And you get to play in the stadium. If you never play again, at least you got to do that.
It's the same thing with the eligibility rules. Well, we should let these kids do what they want to do, better themselves. But then we just opened the door wide open, and then it got crazy. And I don't think people were prepared for all this.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Everything you missed in this show, next.